This is the Plain English Real Estate Show with your host, Rowena Patton, a show that focuses on the real estate market in terms you can easily understand. Call Rowena now. The number is 240-9962 or 1-800-570-9962. Now here's the English girl in the mountains, the agent that I would trust, Rowena Patton.
Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Ro. It's Michael. I live in San Antonio, Texas. As you know, I've been bugging you for a decade, and you've been sharing homes in the mountains with me for that long.
Hey, no worries at all. I literally have people I've been working with since I started in real estate here 17 years ago. So please don't worry about that. It's an honor to help you.
I feel like with what is happening in the economy, as well as what just happened with our former president, it might be time to get out and live the dream in the mountains.
Well, that's one for you and your family to really make sure you're making the right decision. Only you can decide when the time is right for you. Many people are doing that, of course, and moving here to the mountains is kind of an escape, I guess. But of course, the climate here is wonderful. We have great food. There's lots of farm to table. So, yeah, it's a great place to live.
How fast do I have to get out of here? Can you use your tool to look at the numbers for here? Thanks you. And I wouldn't work with anyone else. And I so appreciate you working with me for all of this time.
Oh, that is so sweet. And it's absolutely an honor, like I said. Okay, let me go look it up for you and we will do a deep dive. And if anybody wants these figures, by the way, give us a call at 800-570-9962 and we can dig into yours too. 800-570-9962 and I'll do price drops or values or anything else. I'm going to send you the reports on these as well so that you can see them. And I can do this for any zip code in the USA. There's 30 data points, so we're not going to cover all of those. So these are all figures from as close as we can get to most recent figures. So, for example, 2024, I like to start with the price cut data. Why? When you see price cuts, that's what we call a leading indicator for prices falling in the coming months. This means that people are out there listed, they have the homes for sale now, and a percentage of them are cutting their prices. So, for example, back in 2017, 4.6 of the homes listed had a price cut in your area. And I'm looking at zip code 78237 right now, San Antonio. I can literally get it down to zip code. And when we look at 2018, that goes up to 19.3. So this is, coming towards COVID here, and then it drops down. Then back in 2021, we had 0% were cutting their prices. And then we start to see the incline coming here. So only 3.5% of all those listings had price cuts in 2022. 19.3%, that was a big jump last year. So 1 in 5 people who were listed last year cut their prices. However, 2024 so far, it's nearly 39% of people. So people in San Antonio, that means, what does that mean? 78237. So people in San Antonio are looking at their listings and they're going, some of them are going, we really want to sell and we're going to cut our prices. They're seeing all the other price cuts going on, both in San Antonio and around the country, and they're cutting their price so they can get sold. So price cuts are very, very important. Now, you're not necessarily, if you're buying, you're not going to necessarily see those prices drop until September, October, November this year. Why? Because we have a lot of people listing now that are cutting their prices. Let's say it takes them another month or two to actually get under contract. And then it takes them another month to 6 weeks to actually close. Once it closes at that lower price and that lower price gets recorded, that's when you'll see this severe downward pressure on pricing. There's downward pressure on pricing now because all the sellers out there see all of the other homes that are having price cuts. And any of the smart agents are saying, that's the word for intelligent in England, by the way, not smart mouth. all of those agents that are actually looking at what's going on in their market in San Antonio and noticing all of the price drops, and they're passing that on to their sellers who may be thinking it's like a couple of years ago when there were multiple offers going on and everything else. So let's have a look at home value. What is it saying about home value? You have a score of 22. What does that mean? A mid score is 50. So you've got 22. So on all of the forecast pieces on there, it's looking like we've got a price going down. Now they're looking at, to come up with that score, they're looking at recent appreciation, days on market, mortgage rates, of course that changes for everybody, inventory, and the number of price cuts. That's the way they actually calculate that. And we can do lots more for you. Home value growth year over year, that kind of thing. Also, is it overvalued? This is a fascinating one. And again, they look at all kinds of different scores on there. The trajectory is actually going down for those values. And again, I can send you and I will send you at the end of the show today, a complete report on this. And remember, just because you're not in San Antonio, I can do this for you anywhere. So give us a call, 828-333-4483. We have operators standing by, ready to take your call anywhere in the country. Good morning, Linda. How are you doing today? Tell me about where you're at.
Hey, it's Linda. Good morning, Ro. I live in Raleigh, and I am wondering what that nifty tool you use says is going to happen in Raleigh. I know you do something like the forecast and price cuts, as I am thinking of selling and heading over there to be by the kiddo. He just got married, and we lost his dad a year ago.
Well, first off, my love, I am so sorry. I won't mention his name because you didn't, and I'm not going to mention the name of the kiddo either because you didn't give me permission by, saying whatever it is out there that I can use. But I'm going to keep all this very confidential, obviously. If you don't want it live on the radio, you can just say you're calling in for a friend, 828-240-9962. Or we've got people standing by 24/7. Seriously, they're on at 2 o'clock in the morning, 828-333-4483. Maybe you do the night shift, 828-333-4483. Just make sure you leave an email. You can explain your situation if you want to. I'll definitely call you back. Or you can just say, listen, I just want to report. I don't want to talk to that annoying woman. I can't stand her English accent. I just can't talk to her anymore. Okay, we're looking at Raleigh. So unfortunately, I don't have the zip code for Raleigh. I do. Of all this time, I've only got Raleigh on there because, I don't know, maybe Linda didn't want me to know exactly where she lived. Maybe she thought I'd stalk her or something. I don't know. But Linda, give me a call on your actual address. Obviously, I'm not going to do that live on the show because I don't want to put it out there because there are weird people who are stalkers out there. I am going to look at the neighborhood around Shaw University. If you're in Raleigh, you know where that is. Raleigh is about, depending on which part of Raleigh, about 4 hours from us. I do have the top 2% agent there that I work with all the time, and she is standing by waiting to take your call, Linda, anywhere in Raleigh. So that's the good news there. She is amazing lady and amazing team. So I'm looking at the zip code 27601, which is Raleigh. I'm going to give you the main figures in here. So the home price forecast is it's a number. I won't go into it in depth. I'm happy to do that on the phone. But 50 is the baseline, if you like. It's actually a very nice way of looking at the home price forecast because when we do it by months of inventory, it's sort of confusing. Like 6 months in inventory is the baseline. That's it. That all sounds like realtor talk to me. So when you say 50 and the baseline is 50, that tells us, is it a buyer's market or a seller's market? So 27601, this might surprise you. The home price forecast is 40. That means according to the home price forecast, we're expecting prices to go down. Recent appreciation is at 50. Which is about average, quite honestly. Let me bring all those up and I can tell you what they're at. 40 is actually quite low. However, in the investor forecast, it's strong, right? Because From an investor perspective, it's fairly safe. So when we're looking at home price forecast, it's the momentum. I don't know if you want all this detail. You probably just want the numbers, quite honestly. It's based on fundamental stats like appreciation, inventory, price cuts, and days on market. So for those, the price forecast, what it's doing is it's taking all those figures and looking at what's happened in the last few years. I'll give you an example of what this looks like. So in 2017, we were at 59. In other words, a seller's market. 50 is the baseline. Once we drop below 50, it's a buyer's market. And then in 2018, we went down to 48. So that's basically balanced, just below the 50. Then in 2019, we went down to 35. Again, we're talking about that one zip code. And then 2020, we bounced back and went to 54. It's kind of balanced. It's just 4 over the 50. So in other words, we went into a seller's market. So 2017, seller's market. 2018, basically balanced. 2019, definitely a buyer's market, just before COVID. Or sometimes COVID, depending where you're at and as it was rolling out. Am I right there, 2019? Have I forgotten so soon?
That's correct.
Yeah, so it was the end of 2019 was COVID. COVID has a big effect on this. So then we're at 54 for 2020. So balanced market, basically. It's a little bit, slightly a seller's market, but I wouldn't really count that. One piece of data can floor it. 2021, pretty much the same thing. 2022, that's when we were getting all the multiple offers, and a lot of you are still in that mindset. 74! Home price forecast, it's going to go through the roof. Oh my gosh. Because it was going through the roof. That was the trend. That is a massive climb. 74. Guess what? We're at 49. So technically, at 49, in 2023. Now we're at 40. 40 is most definitely a buyer's market, according to these figures. And even if you don't believe the figures, look at the trend. The trend is what's very, very, very important. The rents are going through the roof. The valuations are all over the place. If we go down to that same zip code, so this is for you, Linda. Again, get me your actual zip code, and I can help a lot more with that, obviously. Let's go down to, I want to go price cuts, because that's the one, honestly, I love to look at. Okay, so let me click on that. Okay, so price cuts back in 2019 are at 1 in 5. We're doing about 1 in 10 right now. So out of all the listings that are out there, it's actually more than that. We're doing over 1 in 10 has a price cut. That's a leading indicator, right? It's above the line. So that one's interesting. Let's look on days on market. And a lot of this is historic. It's where is the trend going? The days on market, so this is showing a vibrant market, right? And it's hard to understand because I just said the forecast is down. Well, that's not what's happening now. Remember the time scale we did earlier? The price, based on price cuts now, that isn't going to come through in your market until September, October, right? Because that's when the houses that are having price cuts now, they're going to go under contract. It takes 4-6 weeks for them to close. Maybe there's issues on the inspection, something else. It closes, right? And you're not going to, if you put it on the market, you're not going to sell it tomorrow. So September, October is when those deeds get recorded. And the newest deeds that sell, the newest prices that are recorded, are the ones that are going to bear, if it's like your house, those are the ones that are going to bear most weight for the appraiser. And trust me, banks, you probably know this, banks have really tightened up. They've been tightening up for the last year or two. Banks know it's coming. The interest rates are high, so so many loan officers have lost their money, lost their jobs. So many bank branches have closed down. Go look it up. That's a leading indicator, guys. And why is that important? Because they've really tightened up. That means they're looking very, very carefully at appraisals.
Hey, Sean Hannity here, talking with the only real estate agent in your market I recommend, Rowena Patton with All-Star Powerhouse. So now that the market is normalizing again, how's that going to impact home selling right now?
You know, Sean, that's a great question, and people all around the country are asking it. I'd really like them to know about the cash CPO offer. It's certified pre-owned. Homes are inspected. Often they're appraised. And cash CPO offers sell for 11% more and twice as fast, and there's no hassle of the showings.
So is now the time to sell?
You know, Sean, it's really all about, do you want to sell now or not? Are you just dipping your toe in the water? If you want to get top value, sell it now. You've got a small window before we expect to see that real flattening out of the market.
Call Rowena Patton right now at 828-333-4483 or online at mountainhomehunt.com.
I am so happy today. We are talking about short-term rentals, people who are unhappy with them, people who are happy with them, people wondering what the heck is going on. Are they going to be shut down? Hotels that are concerned that it hits their vacancy rates, people who say that it makes rentals much more expensive and it's cutting down on homes that are available for people to rent out, all kinds of things. And PJ, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm PJ Glenn. I'm a short-term rental investor here in the Western North Carolina area. I own a number of short-term rentals just west of Asheville, and also in the long-term rental business as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, you know, I want to start off with a quote from Lisa Cameron, who's an Airbnb host. And she says, there's this assumption that only rich people are making money off multiple Airbnbs. But it's average people like me that depend on short-term rental income to sustain their lives. She's an Airbnb host who got hit with a $500 fine. It's not fair and there has to be a happy medium, she says. So let's talk about what's going on around the country right now in terms of short-term rentals. And there's a lot of cities out there that are trying to shut it down, basically. Do you know anything about that?
Well, we've got places like Wilmington and even here in Asheville where they're regulating more and more on the short-term rental world. And that's something you need to consider when looking at a short-term rental is where's the politics in the area at that point? What's the temperature in the room? And but before you do make such an investment, know kind of what's coming and what the law is really, what's currently in place, and whether or not you may or may not be grandfathered into that. So you need to be thinking about those things ahead of time, just in case you need, just like with any other business, so you can pivot and make moves and kind of regroup and move in a different direction if you need to.
Well, I think the issue as well is that you never know when those laws are going to change, like anything else. You don't,
and I think even here in Buncombe County, it's been brewing for a while, I think. But in the last year or so, it seems to really be garnering some steam. And I know if I personally don't have a short-term rental in the Buncombe County area, but
why is that?
That reason exactly is the temperature in the room and the politics of the area didn't. When I'm looking out 5-10 years, I didn't have a lot of faith that there weren't going to be some waves there, and I just felt better that it was more appropriate for my long-term goals to invest in other places.
Well, and so let's talk about the hotel industry for a minute. So in cities like Asheville, where many, many hotels have come in over the last 10 years, and they're usually the big chains, they have a lot of money and a lot of clout because obviously they're putting in a lot of taxes to the area. I would imagine that's partly why, at least. And they can afford to pay very high-priced attorneys to come in and take the case and say, well, this isn't fair. We're building here. We need the local community to do something about it in terms of offering all these Airbnbs and therefore taking up the vacancy rates. But I want to come back to Lisa for a second, who was saying people assume that it's rich people that make money off Airbnbs. It's kind of the same way thinking that rich people make money from having franchises for McDonald's or something like that, right? Because aren't the vast majority of people that invest in Airbnbs mom and pops, as we call them, like small businesses, families who go, we've inherited this house, maybe let's turn it into an Airbnb, or we've got a little bit of money, maybe somebody's passed or they've inherited some money, and what can we do? Maybe we'd like an Airbnb. And I think maybe that comes from as well all the boomers who have this dream of retiring and running a bed and breakfast.
Right. Well, that's certainly true. I think, a lot of times that does happen. A lot of times people get into this, they've inherited a property. And the first thought is, hey, we saw this all this action going on with Airbnbs, and well, let's just make an Airbnb. And I don't necessarily think every house is correct for an Airbnb. Most of my properties are in more remote areas with distance between me and the next neighbor. But
why do you mention that? Because neighbors get upset sometimes when they
sometimes neighbors get upset,
especially in neighborhoods.
In neighborhoods, again, you before you sign on that dotted line, you really need to read the neighborhood, read the room, and see if this is an appropriate place. Just because it's legal and just because there's at that moment no law saying no restrictions saying that you can't do it doesn't mean the headaches won't be coming down the road.
Yes.
And you need to kind of weigh out the options. Is this investment better, possibly for a long-term rental, or would a short-term rental be appropriate here?
And most of the time, you can do the 30-day rentals, even in neighborhoods. It's very hard to restrict that. So. And even in the city, you can do 30-day rentals because they're not short-term rentals because they're 30 days.
Correct.
And you've got things like traveling nurses, and the demand for longer-term rentals has really gone up as people are moving now. We've gone post-COVID. Are we still saying that anymore? Oh, my gosh. We've gone post-COVID where people are moving about in the country now. So they move to another state, and they don't necessarily want to buy a home right away. But they want to live in a home. I mean, you can't buy a home here in 4 weeks. It's not even possible. So you'd want maybe 90 days or something like that, which isn't a short-term rental, correct? So
that's correct.
And you can charge a bit more for those.
You can charge a bit more for that. We call them the furnished finders in the industry. But we're seeing that as a lot of people want to move in here to the area. As you very well know, you can't just jump on a property. It's very competitive. It's a multi-bid situation. So if someone wants to get here, maybe they need to rent for a little bit. Maybe they need that 3-6 month lease, and maybe that's appropriate for them to be in the area to be able to be more on top of purchasing a home in this area. So there is a demand for that as well, and that's certainly something we've seen in this area.
And you've got the issue too that the natives anywhere. This is in Nashville. It's anywhere. We have listeners all over the country. Thank you guys for listening today. A lot of the natives anywhere in any city anywhere say, we don't want these new people moving here.
Well, Asheville and the surrounding area is absolutely beautiful. If you've ever taken a road trip out west, and it certainly has its beauty and its charm too, but when you come back through the mountains, you're happy to be home.
Yes.
And many people, they drive through and they remember us and they know that this is a beautiful place and they want to move here. And that's just, we're blessed to live in a beautiful place. But a lot of people want to be here, and supply and demand creates a situation where the prices are much higher.
And that's always going to be the case when people want to move to a place because of its natural beauty. And
absolutely.
Unfortunately, regardless of what you think about it, you can either be the person that is unwelcoming or be the person that's welcoming. And the interesting thing too is, and Randy, you're a native, you've probably found this too, is that many of the people who are complaining actually moved here from somewhere else.
That's very true.
Yes.
Isn't that right? I mean, oh my goodness. So you've got natives who are like, don't move here and therefore don't be in the Airbnb. Then you've got people who have Airbnbs who are very happy usually to offer those longer-term leases. Obviously, it's less money generally than a short-term lease because those are the premium price. But it's more money than doing a 6-month or a year's lease generally. So there's a big opportunity there as well, obviously.
Correct.
So I wonder what portion of people everywhere that are moving somewhere because we've all become so transient, maybe moving to be nearer the kids. The vast majority, it's a very high percentage. I won't quote the number because I might get it wrong. But the vast percentage of asset money in homes is still with the baby boomers. And baby boomer is 58 and up or 59 and up, depending on where you draw on that line. So you've got people who are entering their 60s right now, or next year it will be 60, and they're thinking about long-term care. They're thinking about, getting insurance for that. They're thinking about moving into retirement communities. They're thinking about finally at 59 downsizing from their 5-bedroom, 4-bedroom houses that the kids grew up in, and now those kids are in their 30s and they've got their own families and they probably live somewhere else. So you've got this massive, some economists are saying it will be a tsunami starting next year of boomers moving out of their homes and selling their homes. And that, I think, will create a whole inventory out there. I mean, real estate changes in demographics are usually a trickle, not a tsunami, and it's probably going to be somewhere in between because of the large number of boomers there. But you wonder how many of them will be interested, especially the younger ones in their early 60s, of thinking about Airbnb and investing that money and what all that additional inventory that's coming on the market will do, because that inventory is generally going to be for younger people who have those families that want that 4 or 5 bedroom home, you know?
That's true. And one thing I think about is, sometimes bigger's not always better. To this day, I've owned several properties. I've owned beach property, lake property, mountain property. Still to this day, the number one bottom line income producing property that I own is a 1-bedroom, 962 square foot little cabin on the side of a mountain with a hot tub. And we always jokingly say, because it always pays the bills. It's always been number one. So, and we're a larger property, still has higher utility costs, higher expenses, and a higher cleaning fee at that. So it doesn't necessarily always produce the revenue that you think it's going to produce. Mm-hmm. So I would caution someone, okay, we inherited mom and dad's house or grandmother's house, and it's so big, we're going to make tons of money. Well, you really need to think that through first, but bigger is not always better.
And this is Rowena Patton and PJ on the Real Estate News Radio Show today. If you have any questions about short-term rentals, give us a call, 828-240-9962, 828-240-9962. If you're calling in from Mars, you can use the 800 number, 570-9962, 800-570-9962 if you've got any questions about short-term rentals or real estate or what's happening in the market. We're here to help, and would love to help you with that. So it's a really fascinating industry, I think. There's absolutely blossomed, grown at an incredible rate as people know, and I guess as it's blossomed and a lot of mom and pops and a lot of investment companies are buying properties to short-term rental, or maybe it's a second home as well. We'll talk about second homes in a minute. Then a lot of people who are supporting those rentals pop up. Let's talk about that a little bit. So cleaners, for example, how important are cleaners when you're going to have a short-term rental?
Well, cleaners are everything. Those are the backbone. Those are the people that are really going to hold things together. We're truly blessed with a great crew. You want to find somebody that's dependable. You want to find somebody that will answer their phone. There's a lot of questions you need to ask. You go through, walk through the house, open up drawers, look at stuff. And there's going to be incidentals. There's going to be things that get missed. And, you want to have someone that you can depend on to call and say, hey, we've got this issue. Can you take care of it? I've been through a lot of cleaners, and it took a long time to find the right ones. And, right now we have the best. And they support us. They understand the business we're in. And that's the thing. You always just want to talk to that person, have a conversation with that person. It's not cut and dry. It's not someone that just simply performs a service. But it's a relationship. And that's what we have gotten in our business, is that relationship. And the same goes with a lot of things, where I'm very blessed that I've been able to acquire a lot of minor skills, and I can do the simple repairs, the plumbing, the electrical, simple wall repairs. Cool. But if you can't do that, if that's something that you're not comfortable with, you need a good maintenance person, a good handyman, and having that person who's willing, it's 8:00 at night and something's not working, and can you go out and take care of it? Something's leaking. Something
critical.
Right. Having that person on standby, it's very critical. So, that's another thing to think about when getting into this business is how involved can I be? How involved do I want to be? And do I have a network of people that can support where I can't?
Yes.
So,
and if you can't, you can have a management company to that. And I do want to direct everybody to STR, short-term rental, STR CPO. We're building a big national list of resources for people who are interested in short-term rentals, people who support short-term rentals. So If you are a cleaner or management company or anybody that's interested in short-term rentals, whether it's buying it, getting funding for it, maybe you offer funding to short-term rentals, go ahead and go to STR CPO, that's certified pre-owned, strcpo.com. There's a link on there to enter your details, and we'll share them out anywhere in the country. We're at the start of building the list. It'll take us a little while, but eventually we're going to have a gorgeous map there where you can go on and find someone to call to help you. So, and if you're a newbie getting into the short-term rental market, then you want to think about, what do I need to know? And maybe you're thinking, oh, I can just maintain it myself, and I can go in and clean it myself or something like that. Get a quote. We'll have a list of people for you to get a quote from on that. But I really want to support the cleaners, those people that really specialize in STRs so they know what to do. Because like you said, it's not like cleaning somebody's home. When you clean somebody's regular home, you're not normally going through their drawers. But give me some other examples of that. Let's get down to nitty-gritty on there. If you're a cleaner, what do you expect them to do in a short-term rental?
I expect every door to be opened, every drawer to be opened. I've personally never had this happen, but I've read stories about where a guest might have left their firearm in a drawer somewhere, and the cleaner didn't open up the side drawer when doing the cleaning, and lo and behold, the next guest comes in, goes to put their keys in the side drawer, and then there's a firearm in the side
Imagine
drawer.
if a child staying in that room.
Exactly. So that's something we go over with our cleaners is, open up every side table to in every bedroom, the chest of drawers, the end tables, open those up, and for no other reason, just make sure that a drink hasn't been spilt in there, to make sure no belongings have been left behind. Maybe we can perform a service to our guests. Maybe they put a diamond necklace in that drawer, and we can catch that before it gets lost.
I'll go catch those for you.
But so that's important. But looking inside microwaves and ovens and behind things in cabinets, things that can catch things on shelves. One of my big things I ask my cleaners to do, if I have a reclining couch, is to make sure you open up the recliner.
Ooh,
because there's the little fold
things
there.
that falls down, the little fold.
Things fall down there, but also there's a little fold there on the footrest that tends to get a little debris, and I want that cleaned out. We want to have a high standard, and just pulling things out, and and just doing regular deep cleaning all the time, pulling furniture out, vacuuming behind there, and overall, that's kind of what we look for from our cleaners.
I'll tell you a funny story. I once stayed in an Airbnb at the beach, and I used the stove. I was heating up some muffins in the morning or something, I don't know. And the little plastic fascia that goes across the front with the clock in and the dials and all of that.
Right.
The cockroaches running underneath that.
Well, the beach is its own special thing. We have owned beach properties in the past, and I always told new beach property owners, I said, when you're looking for your pest control, you need to go to your next door neighbor and ask who their pest control is.
Yes.
Because you want your pest control done at the same time they get their pest control done. That way you're not chasing each other's bugs across the street.
Oh my gosh.
Genius.
That's a really good point.
That's what we did.
Oh
so
my gosh.
We had 3 houses in Myrtle Beach, and what we did was we would just get with the neighbors, and we would all have one whole section of the block pest control done at one time, and that proved very effective.
When I first moved here to DC, Washington DC, I lived in an apartment building, and it was an older apartment building, and I wondered why there was steel wall down behind the cabinets. That's a little trick apparently to stop the cockroaches coming out, so I didn't know that. So I went out one night and I used lots of bug spray because I kept seeing cockroaches. I'm like, I'm going to pull all that out. I'm going to really deep bug spray the entire apartment. And I swear to you, I came home and the countertops were covered. You couldn't see the countertops with dead cockroaches.
The pest control works, and that's
Except
something.
I sent them next door is the problem, and that's why they put the steel wall in so they can't travel through the walls into the apartment next door. So if you've got a condo building, that's definitely something to think about. Where I just triggered that memory because you said you don't want to be chasing the pests next door, and I'm sure
Right.
that's what happens.
Yes,
You
it
know,
does
you get
happen.
more pests next door.
Right,
Ooh.
right. And we have a fantastic pest control system at our properties. You know, we have the best in the business and get quarterly sprayings.
Yeah.
And you need that. You know, you don't and that's another thing to consider when running a short-term rental is these maintenance costs that you wouldn't normally think of. And pest control,
Yes.
you know, don't undercapitalize your pest control. Don't always necessarily look for the less expensive guy. Make sure you get the right guy, because one bad review can cost you hundreds of dollars that you may never even see.
Yeah.
And
Or even more, I'm sure.
or even more.
Because you want to keep those stars high, right?
Absolutely.
Whichever one you're on. Oh, my goodness. We're going to have a download sheet for you. I think PJ and I can put one together quite easily so that you can look at this. It's not there yet, but you can go to strcpo.com for all those resources. There is a link there so that if you are a pest control company, and please share this with anybody you know who's a great pest control company, wherever you're listening, that you know works with STRs, or they're just a great pest control company. Same thing with cleaners. Do you have a great cleaner? If you've got an STR or a regular house that you know could do a great job in an STR, help them with their business. Everybody needs some help with their business right now. Maintenance people, handymen, plumbers that, you know, are trying to build their business. Maybe they've left a big plumbing company or a big electrical company and they're building their business on their own. Or they're a general contractor or a handy person. If you know anybody that does that, or you are that person, go ahead and click on that link at strcpo.com and enter the details there, and we will share your details out with people who are looking. And you can always say no, but it's just a great source of business for you. It's all free. We're never going to charge you for it. So, yes, it's well worth looking at. Maybe we'll charge for it in the future. I don't know. But it won't be charged for quite a while. And a lot of people will get your names and phone number and business and everything else. Did I miss anybody in that list there of people you'd be thinking about that are supporting a short-term rental?
You know, I think one thing, especially here in the mountains, and I know this is true over in the Gatlinburg Pigeon Forge area, is if you have a hot tub, you need a hot tub maintenance guy.
Ooh.
You need somebody that is
Yes.
on the other end of their phone and can help you, because a hot tub can make or break somebody's vacation. So
You're right. If they want they're choosing a home that has a hot tub. They've checked that box.
Right.
And then they get there and it's not warm and it's the middle of the winter, because it's just lovely being in a hot tub in the middle of the winter. I've been in one in the snow. It's just so delightful. And then it's not warm. Like, you've got a bad review coming now and it spoils somebody's vacation.
Absolutely.
HVAC too, I'm sure.
Oh, the same thing. And one thing I would encourage people to do is don't wait until the problem shows up.
Yes.
You know, get those numbers ahead of time. Have
Yes.
somebody ready to go. Get those relationships built ahead of time. Don't wait for that HVAC issue to come around. Have regular maintenance on that HVAC, but also be with a company that will come out at 10 o'clock at night. I had a good friend of mine the other day. Just the same thing happened. He had a guest come into his house, and at 10 o'clock at night, his HVAC was not working. He had a bad control board. We were able to get him with somebody that could get out to him within hours, but he lived out of town. He didn't have that network, and it created a situation. But we got through it, and just through networking and knowing the right people and who we could rely on, we got him taken care of. But that's important. You know, again, back to hot tub. Have that hot tub guy ahead of time. Have the cleaning crew, the maintenance people. Those are people you want to have relationships before something happens.
Yes.
Just call and say, hey, I've got this house. You know, and give them a little bit of business. You know, call that person just to build that relationship and that rapport ahead of time.
Yes.
If that's something you're not comfortable with doing.
Absolutely. And I can tell you, we're at about 3,600 transactions at All Star Powerhouse, brokered by EXP here in the mountains. I will also use that list to recommend you to our clients. You know, that's a big client database. We've got about 60,000 people that have registered over the years that, are thinking about moving to the mountains and they want to look at properties. We've got all of those people too. So go ahead and enter your details if you want some more business at strcpo.com. It is a new site, so we're building it over time, and we're going to build this short-term rental community because it is all about knowing the right people, and it isn't something for the faint of heart, is it, where you're just going to jump into it?
No, that's true. If you have a piece of property and you're debating between short-term and long-term, you really want to think about where your commitment level is. Are you looking for just passive income, or do you want to make this a daily chore?
Yes.
And if you have one, that's one thing, but it's not going to be enough to have a full-time income off of. And a lot of people don't think that. They think you throw it up there and it's instantly going to make you $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year, and that's just not how it works.
Yeah.
So you really need to start thinking, what are you wanting to put into this? What is your level of commitment? And then I always say that 2 is that number that's, you're really starting to rethink things. I'm in the same thing with franchises. A lot of people who've been in the franchise business know.
And you have too, haven't you?
I have too. I've been a
Experienced
franchisee of a large restaurant chain. And I know that the number 2 was the one where you're like, wow, I've really got to grow because this is a lot harder than number 1, but it'll be easier at number 3. And so at number 2, you're working a lot more. But if you're still working a full-time job at this point, you're working a whole lot. You're working your full-time job.
What if you have a management company? What are you paying the management company if you have a management company?
I personally manage all my own stuff, but I've heard management companies everything from 10 to 25%. It just depends on the level of service that they're providing. I think on the lower end, they're just servicing your listing and providing the reservation. You're still managing cleanings, you're still managing maintenance and upkeep and purchasing of durable goods inside the house. And then, of course, that number goes higher. You get up to the 20-25%. That's going to be a complete hands-off type of experience.
Wouldn't you recommend that, though, for somebody that just wants one, at least to get started?
It might be a good idea for some. If you really want to be hands-on, you really want to dig into this, just educate yourself. It's not the hardest thing in the world, but just be prepared for the unknowns. Try to figure out what you don't know, and just educate yourself. And you can go on the forums out there. There's Facebook pages everywhere, but you got to be careful there too because they'll scare you to death. They
don't want competition sometimes, right?
Well, that's true. You really, you'll get some of the nightmare stories, and some things you'll look at and you'll say, well, that's easy to solve. I know how to solve that. And usually the answer is just take care of your guests. Just do the right thing. And if you can just keep that in mind. I also tell people another thing, and I think this is one of the most important things that you can really keep in mind what you're doing. It's not your house, it's your business. Don't take it personally. It's a business. If you own a pizza place and the front counter gets damaged by a kid who throws a toy into it or something, that's just part of business. Don't be that person that my table had a minor scratch on it, I'm going to file a claim with Airbnb. That's you're getting into the weeds. Just fix it and move along. Don't stress yourself out with those. If you're getting stressed out over that, you're going to put a lot on your plate very quickly, where those efforts could be spent in other places. So just remember, it's your business. It's not your home.
Well, sometimes it is your home too. So I had one in Black Mountain when I lived there, and I'd taken on my husband had moved out, and I'd taken on the big mortgage all alone, and I put a door at the top of the stairs. It was in a beautiful little neighborhood that allowed short-term rentals, and I met some lovely families and couples and individuals that were coming to the area. It was a really nice little Airbnb. Downstairs, it really didn't bother me at all. I never really saw anybody, but that was in my home. So it was actually very easy to run down and change the bed, and the laundry was downstairs too. And the only way it put me out really is that the laundry was downstairs, so I couldn't do laundry when somebody was staying.
Right.
But as you know, many people stay at the weekend. They're not staying during the week, or they might go home Monday or Tuesday or something. So, that wasn't putting me out too much. But one interesting thing I learned through that is that I can tell you a funny story about the dog too. One thing I really learned from that is that year 2 is when it starts happening. because people start rebooking because they've had a nice experience. And now you've got a bedrock of clients. And it's like anything else. If you're a nail salon, people come back when you've had a nice experience. So from the launch, it might not be, crazy and wonderful, but it takes a while. If you've got a hair salon, same thing. Or, if you go to a car dealership and they serve you so well, I know I stayed with a certain brand of car because the service was so amazing. I mean, they'd come and pick me up and it was amazing. It was just incredible. And then the guy left and then I went to a different brand, literally, because the service meant everything to me. So you've really got to think about it, I think, as, yes, you might not make money overnight, but year two, if you give that great experience. What do you think to that?
That's absolutely true. We have many repeat renters over the years. They come back time after time, and it's almost, once or twice a month I'll get a message from somebody that says, hey, my friend Bob stayed at your place. He highly recommended it. I wanted to reach out to you. So, you'll build up the referral, and that just keeps, it's the snowball effect.
Yes.
And then you just come to a point where, a lot of people start asking, like, well, are you booked every weekend? I said, well, yeah, I'm booked every weekend. I'm booked, 28 out of 30 days a month. And a lot of that is referrals, and it is repeats, and people come back, and we have families now at this point that have made traditions. They spend the same 3-day weekend every January or every February at one of our properties. So so that momentum builds. And the same thing, we look down at our lake house. People come down for football games. They come down to spend time on the water, and that's tradition.
Which lake is it?
Lake Hartwell.
Okay.
So they've made it a family tradition at this point, and so we're seeing those people come back time and time again. So and that's very rewarding that we were able to take care of that person and earn their business a second, third, fourth time.
What do families say about staying in any of your rentals as opposed to getting a hotel room and traveling somewhere?
Well, the advantage to having being in an Airbnb or a short-term rental is you have the whole space. Well, at least at our properties, you have the whole space. You typically have got a yard or a big patch of forest behind you, or just a big deck to hang out on. Where in a hotel room, you've got 450 square feet to pack everybody into. And no kitchen.
Yeah.
One of our properties is a 2-story property with a big living room downstairs. And when I designed it, I didn't really think about it, but we get a lot of feedback that was the greatest place to send the teenagers. They would go play video games on the big screen, and the adults would stay upstairs on the deck. Hanging out and grilling or cooking or just spending fellowship with each other. And I never really thought of it that way, but it was a separate space, and you don't get that with hotel rooms.
Right. And a family gathering place instead of gathering in the lobby downstairs or gathering in the hotel restaurant.
Right.
Or something, or having to go out in the city and spend a whole lot of money. So you probably save a lot of money like that as well. Go to the grocery store before you go. We need a download sheet on what you need.
Oh, sure. and that's, one of the biggest questions we get is where's the closest grocery store?
I bet.
And so that's what we've included in our check-in guide is where is the closest grocery store? And we usually list the top 3, whether that be Ingles or Publix or whatever else is nearby. But that, you learn that going into this business, questions that repeatedly get answered, and if those questions are asked multiple times, we'll put that in your guide, and it will make your world a little easier.
Yes.
Just to go ahead and be preemptive and taking care of that guest and getting them the information ahead of time so they can plan. Maybe they want to pick up groceries on their way in.
Yeah.
Maybe they're coming to the mountains, and I had a family that they always ask, is there going to be snow? I said, well, this is Western North Carolina. It could be 75 degrees one day and 6 inches of snow the next.
Yeah.
So
isn't that the truth?
Yeah. So, but they want to pick up groceries, and they and typically I've had people just say, they wanted to get snowed in. And just hang out in a cabin and sit in front of a wood stove fire and spend time with their family.
That sounds so delightful.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, and in the summer too, I bet.
In the summertime, they want to spread out a little more. The hot tub's not necessarily the most popular thing, but sitting out on the deck and grilling and kids running through the woods where they're from a city area or urban area where they don't get a lot of exposure to the forest. So. In our particular properties, we're surrounded by forest in all of them, and so they do get that true mountain experience.
Wow. So let's talk about Airbnb, VRBO. Those are the two biggest sites where people advertise. Are there others? Where do you put yours? And do you know any differences between the two?
So we're listed on several different sites, Airbnb and VRBO being the top two, of course. Airbnb, I mean, we all know Airbnb. It's very very diverse. It's where you can get a room in someone's house all the way up to an entire space in a 5,000-6,000 square foot home. VRBO, especially right now, has been pushing a marketing campaign of where you do get only the whole space.
Yeah.
And a lot of people like that. I've spoke with guests in the past, and that's what they want. They're looking for privacy. They're looking. They don't want to be supervised. They don't want to be looked over. And I get that. You're on vacation. You don't want to be. You don't want your vacation micromanaged to a certain extent. But one we're seeing a lot more traffic on is Booking.com, and not necessarily the easiest website to navigate, but we are seeing more and more traction on that. And I don't really know why. Maybe it's their marketing strategy, but we are seeing some increased bookings there.
I would think that's probably because they have hotels as well.
Probably
and
so.
And you can get the car, and it's like a normal, regular hotel booking site. But they're throwing the Airbnbs, VRBOs on there as well.
Right. And we've seen different properties do better on different sites. For instance, our lake property does better on VRBO for some reason. I don't really know why. It just does. And when we had property down in Myrtle Beach, it did better with VRBO than it did with Airbnb. No real rhyme or reason to it. It just was, is what it was. But you want to be everywhere, and very important. This is one of those things. If you just take the headache off the plate to start with, is make sure your calendars are synced.
Oh,
there is nothing worse than a double booking. Yes, and it's not hard to do, but just be redundant on that. Go back through your calendar. Make sure you're going through 30, 60 days. Just double check your calendar to make sure that the sync did work and you don't have a double booking somewhere, because that can spell trouble.
Oh, and Airbnb and VRBO now offer that facility, right? Where you can sync those calendars. Thank goodness. I know that when I started, I either didn't know about it or they weren't offering it at the time, and that just made it a huge pain. And they do that on purpose. It's kind of like an Apple phone and an iPhone and Android phone. The Apple keeps everybody out.
Right. And before, we operate an RV rental business as well. And between the big sites, the Outdoorsy, the RV Share, there was issues with their calendar syncing, and we ended up with double booking several times. And I think they've got that mostly worked out at this point. But that is it can be very costly. It can be very time consuming.
And people get very ticked off.
Because you've made your plans.
Yes.
This is your vacation. You want to make your plans be done and be reliable.
And especially around the holidays, there might not be anything else available.
Exactly. Those peak times, Christmas, July 4th, Memorial Day, Labor Day. You've made your plans, and at the last minute, if there's a mistake, then finding an alternative accommodation is going to be hard.
Yeah. But really hard. And then let's talk about pets for a minute. What do you think about pets in Airbnbs?
Well, we are pet friendly, and so I tell people, carpet is your enemy.
Yes.
Do not have carpet in your Airbnb. Either hardwood floors or LVT or plank. Make it easier. Most of my houses all have life-proof flooring in them from Home Depot.
Yes.
I love that stuff. It's easy to clean. You can't destroy it. We put it in a couple of beach houses, and if they can survive the beach, it can survive anything.
Yeah. Let's get his name on str.com.
Absolutely.
Thank you, strcpo.com. strcpo.com. If you're a provider for STRs, get your name in there. Thank you so much, PJ. That was amazing. It's going to be podcast as well, so we can share it with anybody interested in STRs, and we'll see you on the radio next week.
Happy New Year. Plain English Real Estate Show with Rowena Patton. Visit Rowena and post your questions at radioasheville.com or call her at 828-210-1648.